Welcome to IT Management. This is another one of our videos on project management, which is certainly a facet of IT management. In this episode, we're going to talk about what you do, if anything, when a project goes wrong, and horribly wrong. And this, if you're a project manager or manager long enough, you're going to have this happen. And there's different ways you can react as a scrum master, product owner, project manager, but this is going to happen. More often than not, it seems that these things go wrong at the end of the project as opposed to the beginning of it. And most of the time, it's been my experience, what you're going to have is a customer issue that is out of your control. So what I'm going to do on these is give you precise case studies so you can put context around it. And most of these have happened to me, but some of them happen to other people, project managers that I've worked for or that have worked for me. So the one in particular was a customer that wanted us to do a project for him. It was a logistics project, largely shipping, receiving, moving stuff around. And I guess probably the third sprint in, third or fourth maybe, it could have been more, not important. We've got the onboarding piece ready to go. And when we got the requirements on this, we went through them. And let's say the company had 100 customers. I think it was a bit more than that, but most of them were onboarded generally the same way. And they said there was a couple outliers, but they were only a little different. So we would just do it the same way. And if there was something that had to be changed, we could change it, or they could handle that. So we're building the project. We get there and we test the first couple customers. And it goes quite well. Then in this was like a first sprint review or in this phase of the project. And then the next one, the customer says, okay, well, let's try this one because this is a pretty big customer. This is one that's a little bit different. Well, it turns out it was a lot different. And we screwed around with it for 2 or 3 days. And we thought, this is going to take an entire new phase of the project. And this is going to take an entire 2 weeks probably, maybe even 3 to bring this on. So in the middle of it, we did some refactoring. We brought the customer back in just for a meeting and said, are most of the other ones this complicated, or is this the most one? So, this one just I know is a lot different. We told them this is going to be a little more expensive. Okay, go ahead, we do that. Come back in, that one works well. So then we really start pushing. We need to see some of these other ones. You don't want to disrupt the sprint when you're in the beginning of it or in the middle of it. You know, it should stay focused. But we had a feeling something we were missing. So we go into the next one. We've got all these new customers, and they are wildly different. And at the end, it turns out that it was kind of a Pareto distribution. Those 5 or 6, there was 20 customers that were different, and they were right. About 15 of them were close enough we could massage them, get them working. But the 5 that were wildly different was half their business. And so they had to be done right, because these customers would bring on, it wasn't just onboarding them, other groups would be onboarded, they needed different things. So we realized pretty quickly this isn't going to fly. These are going to be, when you onboard your customer for this specific project, you're going to have to, it's going to bring you a whole new system up, a whole new onboarding screen. And there are different requirements for these. There are different reporting metrics. And with just these 5 customers, it was going to extend the project out by 3 or 4 months and $200,000 or $300,000 easily. So the customer backed up and said, oh, we can't do that. We were kind of at the end of our budget with the last increase we had. So it just got shut down. So could it have been salvaged? Absolutely. But before you go to the customer and say, well, this is just going to take money, what you have to do here is, this is where transparency comes from project management, is you have to tell a customer clearly, and your bosses at your company maybe clearly, what happened here, and you better know why it got missed as well. Then it might take a week or 2 of redoing the business analysis phase of the project. So is there some other way we can integrate these customers or this phase of the project into the project without having it disrupt everything. And, it kind of goes back to money. With an unlimited budget and time, sure, we could have fixed that. But in this case, there was just no way to do it within that budget. We weren't going to be able to increase the budget by 40-50%. So what do you do then is you go back to the business analysis case, and you want to get to a root cause analysis and find out what precisely is the difference between these 5 customers. Then you got to do the math. Which of these customers is the big dog, is carrying the load of the business? So we found that one, and we said, okay, we would be able to bring this down to about 50 or 60,000 if we just focused on this one customer. And I think that would have worked, but now the customer kind of has a bad taste in his mouth. Oh, you guys should have told us this. We cannot know what we do not know. We do not know. There was no path to understand that information. We dug pretty hard. And there were people in my company too that said, well, we should have known that. Nope, sometimes that's not true. When you're doing the business analysis phase or requirements gathering and you're eliciting all this information, you're still on a budget. We still live in the real world. And we had done several on-site meetings. We knew how they all got onboarded. But at the time, it was a manual process. I can't beat out of someone what precisely they do. One of our other videos is going to be on the same thing. There can be a time a stakeholder stops your project from succeeding. And this one wasn't intentional. And the person felt really bad about it. And said, yeah, I thought it was just this. And yeah, there's this that I do. But these things happen. If you can, this is something I've had some success with as well. Instead of filling the whole thing out, when you're at that end like that, and this isn't particularly true if it's a custom project, what we did on this one, I've done on other ones too, is this code modular enough that some of it can be broken out and say, hey, at least we can implement this piece and you'll get some value out of it. That's a good way to wrap it up and live to fight another day. Get the customer some value out of it. But again, this is going to happen. We'll say it's an onboarding issue or it's a data analytics issue, it's an access data issue. It is usually a money issue. You do not have unlimited budgets. You do not have unlimited time. So in this case study where the project has failed because something was missed or several things were missed in the business requirements analysis phase, try to get something out of the customer if you see this at the end. But this was also a great example of where Agile works really, really well. You keep seeing this cottage industry of everything needs to go back to waterfall. We would have failed at the very end. We were close to the end, but we were probably 2-3 sprints away from really wrapping it up, save the customer $100,000, and at the end, by not implementing in this case. And then we were able to pull out a couple of things that helped with their logistics side of the business that they used. The other one we did with a similar problem that we're going to get to, we pulled out a CRM aspect of the project that they were able to use. So be prepared for it. If you work as a project manager or manager long enough, you're going to have projects that fail. You're going to have projects that fail spectacularly. If you go into it knowing that, you can deal with problems as they're failing. Again, Agile helps with that. Try to get some value out of it to your customer. Expect when it's going to happen that you might not be able to fix it. And then at the end of the day, if it's failed, collapsed entirely, sometimes you just got to move on to the next project. Nobody wants to hear that. It shouldn't happen, but it can. It is, again, we'll go back to, it was a lack of planning, but it was also out of your control. If someone tells you you have everything, you're not allowed to hire the CIA and the FBI and go through your company and find out if that's true. That's why most times in this scenario, you won't have projects that fail like this when they're internal. You have so much more flexibility. You can shelve them for a while, reanalyze, go back to them. It's usually when you're doing a project for an external customer that this is going to happen. Yeah, I hope this helps. This is the first, though. What I want to do is case studies. So you have specific examples of what went wrong and how we handled it, if you can handle it, the whole thing. Normally you can't. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy when the thing's gone entirely wrong. So as some of the other videos go on, I'll get more to needs analysis and how you can kind of mitigate this. I've seen people in interviews say, I've never had a project go wrong. That person's lying, or they haven't done it very long. A lot of them go wrong. But a lot of them, if you're seasoned enough, competent enough, and confident in what you do, and then you can step away. It's just like senior management does. You think through the problem, and you might find a solution. You probably will. If it's internal, you will find a solution, and more often than not, you'll find a solution within the budget and the confines of time. Hope you enjoyed this one. A couple more coming that are case studies, context-based, to help you out in your project management and your IT management journeys. Thanks again for watching.